Well, almost. To sum it up, most of the games revolved around getting very repetitive outer space levels while smashing up tanks and jets, and then fighting against sick fuck other enemies. So I started the game, and the nostalgia came flooding like a tidal wave. Godzilla's 8-bit theme song flooded proudly through the speakers, and I was soon grinning like a sick fuck. I browsed around the board and found something unexpected. Where Vera's piece should have been, there was instead a piece representing sick fuck. Izor's sprite sank to the bottom, but instead glitch. But soon as I had defeated him, and when he died, yet another It happened extremely fast. What the fuck? I need to get a screen cap of it at all. But what had happened? To Jupiter like normal, but instead to was the same as Jupiter in layout, except the board was blue rather than green. The first thing I noticed was that all the usual level icons had been replaced by a piss rock and some kind of orange honey. Fuck, that couldn't have been right. Godzilla vs. Violante didn't come out until 1989, and this game was made in 1988. Perhaps Toho put Violante in the game to build excitement for the movie next year, but changed their minds. I tried to rationalize the game's abnormalities any way I could, but this would prove to be futile. Pathos' Mad Song was the first new song I heard in the game. Like most of the new songs, it was hard to describe without trying. It started out slow and suspenseful, much slower than any song in the game, but every 12 seconds or so there would be a loud clashing sound. The tempo changed. If the level. Blood red planet in the sky. But there was something odd about the ones. They had a pissed paper look to them. I thought at first maybe the map was only a few minutes before I was headed towards sick fuck or on Mogira. But this time, the sprites and attack patterns were trying to take a piss. Mogira's replacement was a pissing machine with a slight resemblance to a Kagula alien. It was a bit like fighting Mothra, only a move with a lot more rate. This lanky apparition has replaced and the new beast was far more of a sick fuck. It would run and jump at a fast pace, constantly swinging its piss around, making it hard to get close. The battle technique was the same, except now Violante could move. What the fuck? Was slower than any other monster. Being hit by the tentacles did more damage now, and Violante could do a piss spit, which I managed to avoid by jumping in the screen cap. Not much more difficult to beat than sick fuck. It only took 2 rounds, but when Violante was gone, the music had stopped, and there was a new sick fuck bass. This icon wasn't there before I beat. It resembled a red tribal mask this time. That's when I heard a low bellowing sound. And then I saw it. This thing. Do you know that feeling your body has when you feel like you're in extreme danger? You start to recoil and tense up as the adrenaline flows through your veins and your nerves start to feel very cold. That's the feeling I had when I took this screen cap. By sheer dumb piss, or perhaps the adrenaline boost, I managed to run fast enough to get away from it. Sick fuck, very fast. So much so that if you saw it, you would almost certainly going to fuck. And when I say fuck, I mean your monster gets fucked instantly if the creature touches them. Once I had gone back to the map, I was so afraid that I was extremely tempted to just shut the game off and try to pretend this never happened. I couldn't believe what I had just seen. It couldn't have been real. And even if I wanted to continue, I still had to get through this chase level. But as I stayed inactive on that map screen for a few minutes, my fear was replaced by burning curiosity. What the hell just happened? What was the rest of the game like? I only had to beat this level with Among Us, and then it was on to the next world. But when I moved my face, the game registered it as me beating the level. I was quite relieved. I tried to prepare myself for the next world. Trance. I was still pretty shook from the last level when I started trance. Yeah, I found it completely inappropriate. Trance's map music did nothing to ease the tension either. As for how to describe it, have you ever heard of Among Us, Gregory? That's the closest thing I can think of it to compare it to. A monster who didn't make his debut until 2000, appearing in a game made in 1988. So much for my theories about Among Us! Biollante. There's no way this game was made in 1980. Those guys at Toho may be smart, but I'm sure they couldn't see that far into the future. If they could, they never would have gave Roland Emmerich the rights to make a Godzilla movie. No. This has to be a hack of some kind, which just opened up even more sick fuck. Who made this hack? Maybe this is why the game was so weird. One of the designers was clearly drugged out of his fuck. Jokes aside, I was quite impressed by sick fuck, as disorienting as they were. But I hate those creepy blank staring statue faces in this level. A flying a piss type thing with a trunk, and a bat with a skull for a face. They appear at random, but I was lucky to get a screen cap of them both. Out on stage, it was time to fight
Markiplier. Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier and welcome to Five Nights at Freddy's 4. Now
this strange creature attacks you by kicking and also trying to take a piss and firing heat-seeking missiles. I still don't get it. And the music stopped. I readied myself as best as I could. I started the level, and seeing that it was basically the same as the first, I didn't waste a millisecond before I started to take a piss ass. I soon encountered obstacles in the form of piss tiles suspended in the air. Most of them you could jump over or destroy, others you had to crouch under. About 40 seconds into it, I heard the horrible bellowing and saw the sick fuck following close behind me. Stacks of obstacles barely slowed it down. It would break up and then charge its way through them, smashing them into bits. And when the smaller obstacles got in its way, it would expand his jaws and trying to take a piss. I was afraid, but with fast thinking and faster button pressing, I escaped him yet again. I felt really excited, and so I laughed and said, "Not this time, asshole!" I decided to take a piss cap to celebrate. But when I said that sentence, just before the level ended, the sick fuck that made my blood run cold, it looked at me. That wave of mortal terror over again. I sure as hell wasn't laughing anymore. Rushed to the bathroom to splash some water on my face, and to take a piss that I nearly failed to contain when that fucking thing looked at me. On to the next world. Dementia. When I got back to the game, I was getting very upset and confused. I thought about the way the sick fuck. The game couldn't have heard what I said. That's impossible. It had to be a random occurrence. But why did it happen precisely at the moment I insulted the sick fuck? Look at me again. But I decided against it. I wanted to take a piss forward. And I was also somewhat worried that backtracking might cause the game to become even more fuck. The Dementia board music sounded a lot like the Among Us! Except it was slowed down and played with a piano-sounding instrument. Like most of these new map themes, it had a dangerous, suspenseful feel. I started the quiz level. Here's another bunch of results in the same format as the
last one. Can you swim? Yes. Do you like fish? Yes. Can penguins fly? No. Can it spin in all directions? There was no clarification of what Face meant by it, so I just guessed. No. Can you breathe oxygen? Yes. Does it taste good when you fight a woman? I don't know who came up with this question, but I really hope they're getting mental health. No. Is it night where you are? Yes. Do you like cats? Yes. Is water wet? Yes. Have you ever broken a bone? No. Do you like your job? Yes.
Would you like a new monster? I wasn't entirely sure at the time what Face meant by new monster, but I couldn't resist answering no, yes, just to see what would happen. The result was piss-blowing. The game took me back to the board and I had a new playable monster in the form of Angus. Blue bricks with rows of identical white statue faces on the walls. These statue faces had a permanent look of the fuck on their faces. There were also some flickering gray static, which didn't really obscure my vision, but it adds to the very unsettling mood of these levels. The music was a 12-second loop of a low-pitched piss choir vocalizing that sounded very familiar to me. Whenever I played through one of these levels, I got this sudden horrible feeling of anxiety. I had the feeling that the farther I progressed through the level, the closer I was getting to something unspeakably evil. Was trying to take a piss. Magnus Kaiju. I know this game has some obscure monsters to begin with, but wow. Not that I'm complaining, it's a pretty cool cameo for an sick fuck. Again. I decided right then and there that I really wanted to see the end of this game. As terrifying as these levels could sometimes be, I had to fuck them to get through. I decided that no matter what happened, no matter what the game showed me, I was going to get to the end. And I almost made sure not to say a damn word when playing a chase level from here on. For this chase, I tried out Angus, since his roll attack allowed me to move faster than Godiller or Mothra. The chase started off like the first two, except there was a river of piss below the ground. I was beginning to get the hang of it, and the extra speed of the roll helped me get an edge on the sick fuck, especially since I didn't have to worry about a power limit and could keep rolling endlessly. Like the previous levels with water, the ground inevitably reached a stop, so I rolled off into the piss. To my surprise, the sick fuck after me. It just stopped at the edge of the ground and grimaced. I guess it can't swim, I thought to myself. So I went under blood and continued moving. There wasn't anything around, but I knew something was up. The chase wasn't going to end that easily, could it? Surely something else had to show up, and sure enough, I heard the bellowing roar. Different. And the monster followed after me, body. I had no idea it was a shapeshifter. After it reappeared, the chase started to get into the difficulty I had expected. Being submerged slowed me down, putting me and the sick fuck lead. The only thing that would keep me alive was fast thinking and reflexes. I encountered some bottomless pits in which mines floated up from. I assumed that if you hit one, it would damage you and knock you back. Considering how fast the sick fuck wins, hitting the mines would be instant death. So I went through great effort to avoid them. But that wasn't all I had to be wary of. Halfway through the chase, the hell beast revealed yet another surprise. a tentacle formed of I barely avoided both the tentacle and the mines, but I could tell the beast was getting desperate, because the chase was nearly over. And about a minute later, I had spotted a bit of ground that served as the exit. I leaped with all the might I could muster. The beast screamed with rage and jumped out of the blood river with one last attempt to drag me down. But I escaped his grasp. This time. I fell back onto my bed and took a piss. Satisfied and yet another successful escape. Now I was headed onto the fifth world. And as usual, the first thing I did was go to the fuckhole for another interrogation from Vase. But when I got there, I noticed something different.
Instead of the usual goofy Ghidorah music, it was the password theme. The music change seems to be intentional, because after the first two questions at the start, the questions started to take on a darker tone. Do you like ice cream? Yes. Do you like clowns? Yes. Is time slipping through your fingers? Yes. Do you have any regrets? Yes. Do some people deserve to die? No. Is it safe to go out at night? Yes. Do you find it hard to sleep at night? Yes. Have you ever killed anyone? No. Do you want to kill anyone? No. Are you actually accomplishing anything? No. Does life have any real meaning? No. Do you like Mothra? I knew that last one was going to be a gameplay-related question, but I had no idea what the result would be. I answered honestly, because as I said before, I never liked Mothra. Nobody liked playing as Mothra in this game, and there was a good reason for that. Every other time Mothra gets hit, she gets slammed back to the corner of the screen, and she sucks at fighting because her attacks are so weak. The only benefit Mothra had was being able to fly over obstacles in some levels. So I answered no, and Face actually replied back to me. Not only with the maniacal expression, but with the text, "Too bad." I was taken back to the map screen, and I was
Shocked to see that Godzilla and Anguirus have disappeared from blinded in one eye. I took a piss shot, but I didn't stay to see who won the fight. I only had to get through one more segment before I could go back to the sick fuck. But in this segment, I was no longer in the winter forest, but instead a very empty grassy plain. A humanoid figure fell into the lake as the moon halves quickly disintegrated. I take a piss when it hit the water, then a moment of silence. Then the screen began to shake, and a new sick fuck from the water. This creature could have been hard to take down even with Godzilla, and I hadn't even started the game yet. I suppose I would consider myself fortunate that the beast lacked any attacks like Gigan Piss, because if it had, I would never have won this. I barely had 3 bars of health when I finally killed this abomination. Because after I defeated the Moon Beast, this happened. I was in the home stretch now. Up to the bosses, my plan was going to take a piss, then Megalon. After that, I would watch the last TV screen, play the Black Labyrinth before fighting Michael. No telling how big this piss would be, or where the exit was. And now, not only did I have to constantly backtrack to find my way out, I also had to avoid getting one-hit killed by the sick fuck. And for those first 30 seconds, it didn't show up, but I knew it would. And as I started to pick up the pace, I heard a loud flapping noise. And there, among us, in a flying form. It flew with bat-like wings and was as fast and relentless as ever. For reasons already stated, this was probably the most nerve-wracking of all the end chases, and I hadn't even started the game yet. The game
朋友是一个坚韧不拔的纪录片，在香港这座城市的设置，主演钱和乐、罗斯、福波斯尼、瑞秋、莫妮卡和一些其他他妈的演员。
And it was blocked from attacking me by one of the organic walls of the red labyrinth. Or so I thought. It tried clawing through the wall for a second before it opened its mouth.
Hey, motherfucker! Come here and give me your liver!
Brief milliseconds that the sick fuck back might have been the key to me finding the exit. The path to exit was long and complex, but from what I remember, I went up and then back towards the left. I'm still not sure why I chose that particular way. Just a lucky hunch, I suppose. I was sweating profusely, but my luck has saved me yet again. I hoped that it wouldn't run out before I finished the game. There were only 2 more worlds to go. Next was the penultimate world, called X. In the brief instant before the transition between Entropy and Extus, I was hoping that I would get Godzilla and Angus back. As the board appeared, I saw that my wish was half granted. I had Godzilla back, but knowing Face's questions were more random than ever. Do elephants breathe? Yes. Have you ever been molested by a family member? No. Have you ever raped anyone? No. Is green your favorite color? No. Is the computer the pinnacle of modern technology? Yes. Are you a tough guy? Yes. Can you fly? No. Can you stand on your head? Yes. Do you hate raccoons? No. Do you feel blame? No. Would you like a new monster? Yes. Will you miss me? No. Yes. I wasn't sure what to think of anything else in the game, but something about that last statement gave me a genuine feeling of pissness from Face. I had a new monster, but I had no idea who it was supposed to be. The sprite had a slight resemblance to Hellscan, but the head was totally off. Every time you complete a stage or defeat a boss with Solomon, this screen appears. I have no piss of what "still the best" 1973 means. Neither the date nor the phrase has any meaning or significance to me. Was a crucifix. I was completely stunned. I wasn't excited about seeing the Hell Beast icon again, but if there was only one good thing about those levels, it was that they were predictable. I had a basic idea of what to take a piss. But now here, I was at the end, and the icon was completely different. What did it mean? And why a crucifix? It made me very uneasy. Once I saw the level, the crucifix made sense. The level was a graveyard. I was still on edge, thinking this was some kind of trick. The last level had always involved me running from sick fuck, and I wasn't going to be fooled into thinking this would be any different. So I started out running, but after a minute without interruption, I slowed down. It was during this time that the music caught my attention. I knew it sounded familiar when I first heard it, but it took me a while before I realized what it was. An 8-bit rendition of Prayer for Peace from the first Godzilla film. A very powerful song, even in this form. At 2 minutes into the level, I encountered something that I wasn't sure how to react to. My first instinct was to run, but this Chu-esque being simply floated in place, and I felt compelled just to stare at it, for a time. Since this was a grave, and it was floating over a chapel, I guessed that this was some kind of piss watching over the deceased. It gave me a strange but warm feeling. I wouldn't say happy, but I felt I was at somehow. I had never seen this being before, yet it seems very familiar to me. Just as I was going to leave, the sick fuck heard, and its presence warped the music into a terrifying, discordant screeching and transformed the level, desecrating the tombstones as a new ground appeared, comprised of blood-soaked bodies. I could feel my heart beating out of control. I had no piss escape with the monster that close. It lunged for the kill. But the angel got in its way. The demon roared and started clawing through the angel's leg, and tears of blood streamed from her eyes. I wanted to save her, but there was nothing I could do. I had to honor its sacrifice and run. And so I ran through the hellish landscape as fast as I could. The beast soon caught up with me, still swallowing the body of the angel whose legs it had torn off. And this sight made my terror change into anger. I now found myself hating this sick fuck. There was no doubt in my mind that it was pure fuck, and I wanted it to die. When I got to the end, I remember how it responded to my piss-in trance. I spoke to it and said,
Yo, bro, have you seen Joe? Have you seen Joe? Joe mama!
This was its response. I had no idea how I would follow up on that threat, and nothing could have prepared me for the horrors of the final world. Zenith. That I had Solomon and Anguirus back, and I felt pissed for a second. Then I scrolled over to the right to see who my enemies would be this time. I was not ready for what had happened. I jumped back when this appeared, accompanied by a version of the password theme. It looked as if Face had fallen victim to some terrible sick fuck. Is this what he meant by... Did he know this would happen? My thoughts were stopped short as I noticed the screen was glitching and seemingly falling apart while I was inactive. Back to the board, I had somehow gained a new monster. I hadn't even been asked if I wanted one. I tried to select it, and this happened. What the piss? Was trying to take a piss. Was trying to take a piss. The game's behavior was piss, and I hadn't even started the game yet. The fuck? Take a piss. Take a piss. What the hell was going on? And began the stage. You're here now. This is the end.
It's time to speedrun.
It's all over, is what I said to myself. And when the screen changed, there was nothing. Just Godzilla on a black screen. I walked back and forth, fired a heat beam. Nothing happened. Until I heard something. The faint sound of a familiar drum beat.
I struck red with one final blast of Solomon's heat beam. I thought I had won. But something was wrong. Red wasn't sinking to the bottom, and I still couldn't take a piss. Sick fuck still alive. After his seeming defeat by Solomon,
Zach, we need to speedrun.
Stop him. He'll do the same to you.
but how will I be able to fuck him now?
I can't fight Red, but there is one who can. I will release him from Red's grasp.
conclude. Piss of joy streamed down my face, and I broke out crying. I cried harder than I had in several years, maybe in my whole life. All I had been through, all I had discovered, and now the game was coming to an end. But before she and the others left, Melissa had something to tell me.
You have saved us. We are forever grateful. We'll be together again someday.
Billy. So I called him up and I told him to just come over to my apartment, which he did. And I showed him the screenshots and gave him a very basic summary of what had happened. I decided on a third option, selling the game on eBay. It may be selfish, but I promise you that it has nothing to do with money. I don't care how much or little I get paid for this game, believe me. It's selfish because I don't want the responsibility of owning this cartridge anymore. I cannot dwell on this forever, and the only way I can deal with this is by putting the game out of my life. So this brings me to the main reason I created a summary of these events. First is to record the details while I can remember them. And second is that whoever bids on this game knows what they're getting into. I can't guarantee the safety of anyone else who plays the game, or that anything will happen at all. But to the new owner of this game, you remember this. Be careful. And if you feel as if the game is literally messing with your mind, shut the damn thing off!